Good morning, students. Today's topic is from renal physiology, that is glomerular filtration rate. Okay, so I hope you know the meaning of this glomerular filtration rate. So in your intermediate, you have some idea about this. So the constancy of the internal body environment or the homeostasis is maintained in large part by the continuous functioning of its 2.6 million nephrons. Okay, so in both the kidneys, in our human body we have about 2.6 million nephrons. So these nephrons will continuously work to maintain the constancy of the internal environment, so that is homeostasis. So this glomerular filtration will take place in the glomerulus of the kidney, that is in the nephron. Okay, so you all know the parts of nephron, right? So we will see into details about this glomerular filtration rate today. So the objectives for today's class are GFR, or the glomerular filtration, definition and the characteristics of the filtration membrane, composition of the filtrate and dynamics of the glomerular filtration, filtration fraction and factors affecting the filtration, regulation of the filtration and measurement lastly. And also we'll see some applied when the GFR increases and when the GFR decreases. So glomerular filtration rate is a measure that describes the total amount of filtrate formed by all the renal corpuscles in both the kidneys per minute. Okay, so it is a measure that describes the total amount of filtrate formed by all the renal corpuscles in both the kidneys per minute. So it is the first step of urine formation. It begins with filtration of large amounts of fluid through glomerular capillaries into the Bowman's capsule. Glomerular capillaries are impermeable to proteins, cellular elements including RBCs. Okay, so the capillaries are impermeable to proteins and cell elements including the RBCs. So remember this point. And coming to the basics of basic mechanisms of urine formation, the first and foremost is glomerular filtrate. So it is a fluid that filters through the glomeruli into the Bowman's capsule. So that fluid is equal to plasma minus proteins, because proteins are not filtered and some cell elements, that is RBCs, I have told you. Okay, so these proteins are again plasma proteins, plasma protein binded substances and substances with molecular weight more than 70,000 Daltons. Okay, so that is glomerular filtrate is plasma minus proteins. And glomerular filtration rate is the quantity of glomerular filtrate formed in all the nephrons of both kidneys per minute. Okay, so it is a quantity of the filtrate formed in all the nephrons of both the kidneys per minute. Okay, so the normal value of this glomerular filtrate is 125 ml per minute or 180 liters per day. So remember the units, just don't remember the number. Okay, 125 and 180 both are there, but the units makes very much difference. Okay, it is 125 ml per minute or 180 liters per day. Okay, so these values are very important. So in urine formation, there are three processes involved. So first one is glomerular filtration, which takes place in the glomerulus, that is Bowman's capsule and glomerulus. And then as the filtrate or the fluid passes through the tubules of the nephron, it is called tubular reabsorption and also tubular secretion. So reabsorption means the substances are taken back into the plasma and into the blood of the body. So that is not entering into the tubules and finally urine, but it is taken back. Okay, and secretion means, and from the blood, that is you can see here peritubular capillary, from the blood the substances are secreted into the tubules. Okay, so it is forming a part of urine. Okay, so the final amount is which is coming out of the body is called urine excretion, eliminated from the body. So glomerular filtration is the free plasma, protein free plasma from the glomerulus into the Bowman's capsule. And reabsorption is selective movement of filtered substances from the tubular lumen into the peritubular capillaries or the systemic circulation. And tubular secretion is selective movement of non-filtered substances from the peritubular capillaries into the lumen, tubular lumen. Okay, so you should know the meaning of these three words. Okay, so without knowing the meaning, you can't understand this whole topic of renal physiology. Okay, what is reabsorption, what is secretion, what is filtration? So finally, excretion, the urine formed which is excreted from our body, is nothing but filtration minus reabsorption plus secretion. Okay, so this is the basic concept which you all should know for understanding the urine formation and tubular functions and also acid secretion, like that. Okay. And now we will see the glomerular filtration barrier. So today's class we are only concerned with the glomerular filtration. Okay, tubular reabsorption and secretion will be dealt in the coming classes. So in this glomerulus, we have filtration barrier. So what does that barrier is composed or made of? Okay, so you can see here these are the capillaries, red colored one. Okay, afferent arteriole and efferent arteriole. So they will form many branches here, and again it will come out as efferent arteriole. So on the arteriole there are podocytes, and this is the proximal tubule. So from the Bowman's capsule it continues like this. So this is a section taken here. You can see the fenestrations in the capillary, and these are the podocytes. And this is epithelium, basement membrane, endothelium. Endothelium is the inner part of the blood vessel, that is arteriole. So this side you can see. So these are the, see here, capillary, and then capillary endothelium, basement membrane, foot processes of podocyte. So in this way you have to remember. Okay. So from capillary side to glomerular side, capillary and then endothelium, basement membrane, and then foot process of podocytes. So podocytes are covering the capillaries. So that's why you should say that foot process of podocytes are also part of the filtration barrier. So these foot process have filtration slit. Okay, so from this slit only the things or substances are being filtrated. Okay, so this foot process of podocyte, it is having a slit like membrane, filtration slit. So now we will see the characteristics of filtration membrane. So the site of filtration, as we all know, it is glomerulus, and its mechanism of filtration is sieve-like. So we have seen in the previous slide the filtration membrane after the capillary endothelium, basement membrane. We are having that sieve-like membrane, which is again formed because of foot process of podocyte. So layers of the membrane are foot process of podocytes, lamina rara externa or outer cement layer, or the basement layer, lamina densa, lamina rara interna or the inner cement layer, and then endothelial cell layer. So these three are the nothing but again basement layer. So you can write like this or just simply basement membrane. So you can see in this picture the arteriole is completely surrounded by the podocytes. Okay, podocyte of visceral layer of glomerular capsule. So the glomerular membrane, glomerular capsule layer, inner layer is formed like this by the podocytes. So that is having the fenestrae or slit like diaphragm or membrane. So the endothelial capillary pores are large fenestrae, and that is having high permeability, 100 to 400 times more permeable to plasma, water and dissolved solids than capillaries of skeletal muscles. And the permeability selectivity depends on pore size and electrical charge. Pores are small enough to prevent RBCs, platelets and WBCs from passing through the pores. So the pores are very small so that it can prevent the RBC, that is cell elements, from passing through the pores. So if we see the pore size of glomerular capillary, it is 8 nanometers, and podocyte filtration slits, they are of 25 nanometer size. And the substances, if their size is less than 4 nanometers, they are freely filtered. And if their size is between 4 to 8, that filtration is inversely proportional to their diameter. And if the size is more than 8 nanometer, it is not at all filtered. And coming to the electrical charge, because the glomerular membrane contains the negatively charged glycoproteins, which are rich in sialic acid, the cationic and neutral particles are more permeable. Okay, so because the membrane contains negatively charged, so this cationic negative attracts positive, so cationic and neutral particles are readily permeable. So the ability of a solute to penetrate the glomerular membrane depends on the size, molecular size, and ionic charge. Okay, so the molecular size here, as we have seen, less than 4 nanometers, small molecules more filterable, and also the ionic charge, cations more filterable. So this is a graph showing the effect of size and electrical charge of dextran on filterability by glomerular capillaries. So on y-axis we have relative filterability and effective molecular radius on x-axis. As the radius is increasing, as you can see, the filterability is increasing. So this colored ones are, one is polycationic and one is neutral and one is polyanionic. So for anions, that is negatively charged, so the filterability is very less, though the radius is more. So next is composition of filtrate. So as the afferent arterioles enters into the glomerulus, that is Bowman's capsule, and then the efferent arteriole comes out and it will form a network around the loop of Henle. So all the blood cell elements and the proteins and water and all the electrolytes and every other the blood contains all the substances, that will be entering into the Bowman's capsule, and only few substances or solutes will be entering into the filtrate. So how these are entering into the Bowman's capsule or into the from the arteriole into the Bowman's capsule? So that is because of pressure variations between the two. Okay, so the pressure differences are the main reason behind the formation of filtrate. So that's why the filtrate is also called ultrafiltrate or ultrafiltration. The process of this filtration is also called ultrafiltration, and the reason behind is because of pressure differences only the filtrate is produced. So what does the filtrate contains? So all the electrolytes and metabolic waste, metabolites and non-natural substances, low molecular weight proteins and peptides. So that is the composition of the filtrate. Only a very small portion of the plasma proteins are filtered, but small plasma solutes easily enter the ultrafiltrate. So the arrows indicate the direction of filtration. So from the capillaries into the Bowman's capsule, right? So the factors affecting glomerular filtration rate are change in renal blood flow. So if the blood flow increases or decreases, it automatically affects the GFR. And glomerular capillary hydrostatic pressure. So that is the capillaries, afferent and efferent arterioles are present now. So in that the hydrostatic pressure, that is because of blood volume. And change in capsular means Bowman's capsule, hydrostatic pressure. And oncotic pressure is present in capillary because of plasma proteins. And glomerular capillary permeability. So permeability, as we have seen, depends on pore size and electrical charge. And effective filtration surface area. So the surface area means that entire glomerular filtration barrier is present. No? So that filtration surface area, so if some part is damaged, it is not able to filtrate in that part. So that effective surface area of the filtration membrane will also affect the GFR and size, shape, electrical charge of macromolecules. So now we will see some of the main factors influencing GFR. So the first main important factor is net filtration pressure. So how the net filtration pressure is produced? So I told you the filtrate is produced only because of the pressure differences. So these four pressures you should know, you should keep in mind. So to know the net filtration pressure, so first one is glomerular capillary or blood hydrostatic pressure, which favors the formation of filtrate. So that is this capillary from the capillary towards the tubule or towards the capsule, the movement will be present. And this is tubular colloid osmotic pressure, which is 0. Okay, why? Because in the from the blood the proteins are not at all filtered. So though filtered, it is only very minimal. If the protein size is very less, so that is not at all coming into count. So that's why the capsular or tubular colloid osmotic pressure is always 0. So because the filtrate is protein free. And CHP is capsular hydrostatic pressure, which opposes the formation of glomerular, because in the capsule the hydrostatic pressure will push the fluid from the capsule to the to the capillary. So from the capillary the fluid is pushed out of the capillary into the lumen, and here from the capsule the hydrostatic fluid, because of hydrostatic pressure, the fluid will be pushed into the capillary. And next is blood colloidal osmotic pressure. So this is the capillary, in the glomerulus, the capillary colloidal osmotic pressure or oncotic pressure. Okay, so it also opposes glomerular filtrate, because proteins or the oncotic substances, they will attract the fluid, they want the fluid inside. Okay, so that is the 4 pressures which favors glomerular filtrate and which opposes the glomerular filtrate. So GFR is equal to, KF is nothing but the ultrafiltration coefficient, which is equal to intrinsic permeability of the glomerular membrane multiplied by net filtration pressure. So this is the formula for glomerular filtration rate. So here in this picture we can see the forces or the pressures which favors the filtration, and also the pressures or forces which oppose the filtration. So the previous slide we have seen 4 pressures now. So the names are little bit different here. So it is differently given in each book. So you can follow whatever book you are reading. So the forces or pressures which filter or favor the filtration formation is capillary hydrostatic pressure, and this is oncotic pressure of the capsule. And the forces which oppose the ultrafiltration are capsular hydrostatic pressure and capillary oncotic pressure. So the final glomerular filtration is equal to Kf into net filtration pressure. So the net filtration pressure is hydrostatic pressures. One is capillary, one is capsular, and minus oncotic pressure of capillary and oncotic pressure of tubule or capsule. So this will be 0. So these 2 pressures minus the capillary oncotic pressure. So here you can see the values of the capillary hydrostatic pressure and then capillary oncotic pressure, that is 60 and 32, and capsule hydrostatic pressure or Bowman's capsule pressure is 18, which opposes the filtration formation, and colloid oncotic, capillary colloid oncotic pressure also opposes the filtration. So these 2 are opposing, only this one will be favoring along with the capsular oncotic, but that is 0. So the net filtration pressure will be, glomerular hydrostatic pressure minus capsular hydrostatic pressure minus glomerular oncotic or capillary oncotic pressure. So if we do this calculation, you will get the net filtration pressure of 10 mmHg. And after the net filtration pressure, one more important factor influencing the GFR is permeability of the membrane. So this permeability, as we have already seen, depends on size and charge. So glomerular capillary is 50 times more permeable than other capillaries, and membrane has a pore size of 8 nanometers and is negatively charged because of sialoproteins. Okay, and the size up to 8 nanometer filtration of neutrally charged particles, and as it is negatively charged, it repels negative charged particles like albumin, and which is absent in filtration. That is, albumin is not present in the filtrate. And next factor is surface area of the filtering membrane. So decrease in surface area happens when there is mesangial cell contraction by the action of angiotensin II and thromboxane A2. So the mesangial cells are contractile cells between the capillaries of glomerulus and provide support. So the surface area decreases when the action by angiotensin II and thromboxane A2 is present. So the cells will be contracting so that the effective surface area will be decreased. So mesangial cells are responsible for the development of glomerulonephritis. So this is the inflammation of the glomerulus, and the age also affects GFR. After 30 years, there will be gradual decrease in GFR. So this picture shows the conditions when the GFR decreases and conditions when the GFR increases. So GFR decreases when there is decreased blood flow. So this decreased blood flow may be because of constriction of afferent arteriole. So the capillary hydrostatic pressure decreases, so that GFR decreases. And also in other condition is when the efferent arteriole is dilated. Okay, so here there is the blood flow is normal, and because the efferent arteriole is dilated, so this again the capillary hydrostatic pressure will be decreased, so that GFR decreases. And then the increased GFR is seen when there is efferent arteriolar constriction. So here the capillary hydrostatic pressure increases and GFR increases. And also one more condition is afferent arteriole dilatation. So here the glomerular or capillary hydrostatic pressure increases and also GFR increases. Next, coming to the measurement of GFR. So the direct method is by micropuncture technique and indirect method is by clearance measurements. So direct method we are not going to do, so it is not done because it is a puncturing invasive method. And indirect method, most common method is clearance. Okay, clearance of a substance is volume of plasma cleared of the substance in unit time. So example, dash milliliters of plasma per minute. So the volume or amount of plasma cleared of the substance in unit time. So the formula is UV by P. So C is clearance and U is concentration of substance in urine, V is flow rate of the urine, and concentration of the substance in plasma is P. So C is equal to GFR, that is clearance is equal to GFR, means no tubular secretion and no reabsorption. No reabsorption is not taking place and secretion is not. So then clearance of the substance will be equal to GFR. So example is the most known substance inulin. Okay, and C is greater than GFR is when there is net tubular secretion, when the substance is being secreted into the tubules. So that is example PAH, para amino uric acid. So in this clearance will be more than GFR. And when the clearance is less than GFR, it is the conditions or the substance is being reabsorbed. There is net tubular reabsorption. So most common example is urea. So in these three conditions we should take the such substance so that the clearance is equal to GFR, so that we can tell the exact value of GFR. So the most commonly used substance is inulin. So the criteria of substance used for measuring is it should be freely filtered by the glomerular membrane, neither reabsorbed nor secreted, and it is not metabolized, stored or synthesized by the body, and does not bind with protein, does not affect GFR, and is not toxic, whose concentration is easily measurable in plasma and urine. So examples are inulin polymer, which is a polymer of fructose, and mannitol and vitamin B12 labeled with radioactive cobalt. So these are the criteria of the substance which is used for measuring the GFR. And procedure for doing this clearance is a loading IV dose of inulin followed by a sustaining infusion to keep the arterial plasma level constant. And after inulin has equilibrated with body fluids, an accurately timed urine specimen is collected and a plasma will obtain halfway through the collection. So plasma and urinary inulin concentrations are determined and clearance is calculated using the formula UE by P, and the result is expressed in milliliters per minute. Okay, so this is the procedure and the expression of the result. So by doing this procedure, so the most commonly used substances are these, and renal clearance is equal to GFR. So amount filter is equal to amount excreted. So GFR into P is plasma concentration, U is concentration in urine, and V is the flow rate. So that's how we get the GFR. So if we take the inulin and plasma as 1 and urinary inulin 125 and flow rate 1, so we get finally this value, so which is 125 milliliter per minute. And filtration fraction is a small concept which you should know in while knowing about GFR. So it is expressed as the percentage of ratio of GFR to renal plasma flow or renal blood flow. Okay, so it is expressed as percentage of the ratio of GFR to renal plasma flow, otherwise GFR by RPF into 100. So that is the filtration fraction formula. So if we take the normal values like this, so we get 20%, which is the normal filtration fraction. And filtration coefficient is Kf, which we have seen in the previous slide. So it is GFR of both kidneys per mmHg filtration pressure. So normal value is 10 ml per minute per mm of Hg. And next, coming to the regulation of GFR, we have 4 mechanisms. So in autoregulation, we have myogenic and tubuloglomerular feedback mechanisms, and neural mechanism and hormonal mechanism of regulation of GFR. So autoregulation is an important concept which you should know in this renal physiology, and also it comes again in cardiovascular system. So this autoregulatory range, that is mean arterial blood pressure range of 80 to 180. So in this range, the blood flow will be maintained constant. So below this range and above this range, the flow again will change. So this is the normal blood pressure. Normally how much it will be? 120 by 80. So it is mean pressure. Okay, so taking the mean pressure from 80 to 180 nearly, so the blood flow will be constantly maintained. So same this applies to coronary blood flow, cerebral blood flow, and other important organ blood flows. So this auto-regulation mechanism is present in major parts, major systems of the body. So despite changes in mean arterial blood pressure from 80 to 180, renal blood flow is kept at a relatively constant level, a process known as auto-regulation. So this is very, very important for regulation of GFR. And next, coming to the myogenic mechanism. Myo means muscle. So where the muscle is present in kidney? So in the capillaries, right? Okay, so when the blood pressure increases, there is stretching of blood vessels takes place. That is afferent arteriole smooth muscle. So this is the main thing here. So that's why the name is myogenic. So stretching of the blood vessel takes place, that will lead to opening of cation channels of the smooth muscle and leads to depolarization of that, and opening of voltage gated calcium channels. Calcium, this process is same everywhere. Okay, so calcium influx takes place, increased intracellular calcium takes place and leads to vasoconstriction of the afferent arteriole smooth muscle. So that is the myogenic mechanism. So when the vasoconstriction occurs, there will be increased GFR, and this increases the sodium chloride released from the macula densa. Okay, so these are the macula densa cells, and increase uptake through 1 sodium, 1 potassium, 2 chloride importer. So sodium chloride will be uptaken into the cell, and increase production of ATP and adenosine. So ATP and adenosine is production increases, and these will bind to their specific receptors, and that will again lead to increased calcium concentration in the inside of the smooth muscle cell, which lead to increased afferent arteriole resistance, that is again vasoconstriction. So this is the detailed description of the mechanism of vascular constriction or myogenic mechanism. And next comes to the tubuloglomerular feedback mechanism. So when the arterial pressure decreases, there will be decreased glomerular hydrostatic pressure. So that leads to decreased GFR, and which will leads to decreased sodium chloride in the macula densa. So that will the stimulating factor for increased production of renin and increased angiotensin II and increased efferent arteriolar resistance. So this will have a negative impact on this glomerular capillary. So the capillary hydrostatic pressure will increase when the efferent arterial resistance increases. And one more side, if we see, the decreased sodium chloride from the macula densa will lead to decreased afferent arteriolar resistance, which is again having negative impact on decreased glomerular hydro. That is, the hydrostatic pressure will not decrease once the afferent arterial resistance decreases. So this macula densa, the sodium chloride reabsorption also increases from the proximal tubule. So the macula densa sodium chloride will be decreased. So this is tubuloglomerular. So tubulo means the glomerular capsule and the proximal tubule. Glomerular means the glomerular hydrostatic pressure. So this feedback mechanism, the negative feedback mechanism from the efferent and afferent arterioles is nothing but tubuloglomerular feedback mechanism. And the next one is neural mechanism. The stimuli is decreased blood pressure or exercise, and the decreased pressure leads to baroreceptor reflex, and exercise also leads to increased sympathetic nerve activity, which leads to increased cardiac output and vasoconstriction in the skin and GI tract. And vasoconstriction of afferent arterioles in kidneys leads to increased total peripheral distance. So this vasoconstriction leads to decreased GFR and decreased urine production and increased blood volume. So this is negative feedback corrections. Okay. So because of increased sympathetic activity by these two stimuli. So this is the correction of neural correction of or neural regulation of GFR. And next last coming to the hormonal or autocoid mechanism. So if we see different hormones or autocoids, how they regulate the GFR. So angiotensin II, the major stimulus for its production is decreased blood volume or decreased blood pressure, and the mechanism is constriction of both afferent and efferent arteriole, which decreases the GFR. And ANP, one more hormone is atrial natriuretic peptide, which by stretching of arterial walls due to increased blood volume causes relaxation of the mesangial cells, increasing the filtration surface, which increases GFR. So next coming to this big list of hormones: histamine, dopamine, bradykinin, prostaglandin, nitric oxide and endothelin, adenosine. We have seen all these about all these hormones in local hormones class. So if you are not able to remember, so just go back and check that once. So histamine causes vasoconstriction, that is contraction of mesangial cells, so leads to decreased GFR, and dopamine causes vasodilation. Sorry, histamine causes vasodilation but contraction of mesangial cells. Okay, so vasodilation, decreased renin and angiotensin II production and relaxed mesangial cells, which again increases GFR. Bradykinin causes release of nitric oxide and prostaglandin, again causing increased GFR. Prostaglandin decrease the vasoconstrictor effect of catecholamines and angiotensin II and relaxing the mesangial cells, which leads to increased GFR. Nitric oxide vasodilates both the arterioles, increasing GFR. Endothelin and adenosine causes vasoconstriction of afferent and efferent, here only afferent, which leads to again decreased GFR. So these things you should not by heart, because if you know the mechanism of action of each of these hormones, you can easily tell what is the mechanism and how does it affect the GFR. Okay, so try to remember the mechanism of action of each and every hormone, and all these previous slides which I have shown you, the feedback flow chart forms. Okay, feedback, tubular glomerular feedback and myogenic mechanism, neural mechanism. So if you remember in a flow chart manner, definitely you will be able to understand the concept. So not in a paragraph or not by hearting the subject. Okay, so remember and understand and represent always in a flow chart or tabular forms. And next, the applied aspects. Lastly, physiological conditions that alter GFR are exercise, which causes sympathetic stimulation, and GFR decreases. Pregnancy, because of hormonal changes and increased blood volume, vascular resistance occurs and GFR increases. And posture, again because of sympathetic stimulation, GFR decreases. And sleep, because of circulatory activity decrease, GFR decreases. And whether extracellular fluid volume increases, GFR increases. And gender, uh, it does not affect much. And age, because of loss of nephron, GFR decreases. Food intake, protein diet increases the GFR. So, and pathological conditions which affect the GFR or decrease the GFR are nephrotic syndrome and nephritic syndrome, and also single kidney if the person is having only one kidney. So this nephrotic syndrome is proteinuria. Here the proteins are eliminated from the body in the urine. So that is nephrotic, and nephritic is inflammatory condition of the kidney, nephritic syndrome. So if you want, you can check out these two topics. So these are big topics by themselves. So these will come in general medicine subject. So just know the names of these syndromes. So nephrotic is different, nephritic is different. Okay, so these conditions will decrease the GFR. So summarizing the topic, we have seen the definition and the characteristics and the layers of the filtration membrane, and then we have seen the various factors affecting the filtrate, and we have seen the pressure gradient, that is net filtration pressure, how it is produced, and also we have seen the measurement of GFR and factors affecting, and lastly we have seen the regulation. Four mechanisms we have seen. Okay, myogenic, tubuloglomerular feedback, and then neural mechanism and hormonal. And also we have seen some applied aspects. So when the GFR increases and decreases. So that's all for today. And this GFR topic is very important because it can come whole lesson, whole this lecture will come as an essay, or the sections, that is factors affecting or the regulation of GFR, will come as a short questions or very short question. So it is very important. Try to read this from the textbook. And that's all for today. Thank you all.